Well, welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me this evening, Sonia Sodha and Isabel Oakeshott. A couple of stories about health rationing, as miserable as it sounds, certainly. There is the inside pages of the Daily Express. Oh, up the top. I shall bring it down. I thought I had. Knee and hip ops may be limited in this cash crisis.
So a couple of the papers have got stories about measures that the NHS is going to have to take in order to try to balance the books. It's a big struggle, always harder in winter. And the suggestion is that some trusts are now going to start, cutting back on procedures. I mean, in a sense, this isn't new. A lot of NHS trusts have been doing this anyway. And, we've had these conversations before about, the extent to which patients should be encouraged or even forced to meet certain health indicators before they have those procedures. So if they're very overweight, for example, the outcomes aren't as good for hip operations or knee replacements. So I think that, by necessity, a lot of trusts are going to be imposing those limits more strictly. And I'm sure we'll see weights going up. And, it was one of the good things under the Labour administration that they did bring down under Tony Blair. They did bring down waiting lists quite dramatically, actually.
Some said that's, they speeded up when you saw a consultant, therefore you were effectively off the waiting list.
Well,
I mean, there's an element of fudge,
I did study this. I was a health correspondent and I did look at it quite closely, and I was in no way sort of primed to be favourable to Labour over that. They did make a genuine difference to waiting times. There were people waiting for a year previously. And actually a lot of those targets have now been dropped. To some extent they were distorting clinical priorities, but it would be a shame if things slipped back so far as they had been before so much effort was put in.
And meanwhile, the Daily Mail, NHS rations prescriptions. They're talking about heartburn remedies, cough medicines, migraine pills, cold sores, athlete's foot, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We should or should not pay for them. What do you think?
Well, I think we should, and I think particularly if you're talking about a condition like migraine, for example. I mean, migraine can be absolutely excruciating, take you out of action for 3 days if you suffer from bad migraines. So the idea that the NHS isn't going to pay for your treatment, I think, is, especially if you can't really afford a private prescription yourself, is really quite frightening.
People who don't pay for prescriptions wouldn't pay for these either, would they? So it's already targeted.
It's a little bit of a funny story, this, because cough medicines, I mean, there are very few, and you probably know this because you're a cough sufferer. There aren't that many prescription cough medicines. There's about one, having had coughs the last couple of years, there's only really one super kind of turbocharged cough medicine that you can get. Other than that, you're just looking at over-the-counter stuff anyway. And, as for painkillers, they're often cheaper to get the kind of the generic ibuprofen or paracetamol from the chemist than it would be to pay for a prescription.
I think this is really the NHS getting quite desperate. So everyone in the NHS was waiting with bated breath for the budget to see how much cash the Chancellor put up. Now, there was some, but not enough, not as much as the NHS said it needed. And so this is coming from a place in the NHS where they're really feeling like they're going to have to cut corners. A lot of the targets that Labour introduced are now they have now been enshrined in what's called an NHS constitution. So they're meant to be a right for you as a patient if you get, if you get a cancer diagnosis or a test, that you get to see a consultant within a certain amount of time. And I think this is the NHS firing a shot back.
We've only got a minute left. Do apologise. Very quickly, 2 stories. Frosties are
down at the bottom.
Very bottom. The bottom. Yeah, found it.
Frosties are now being classified as an adult cereal.
And this is
which grown-ups eat
yes,
Frosties?
we were scratching our heads.
Late night,
Tony the Tiger's going to be put out of
I'm not confessing to that, obviously.
The other story we want to do, sorry to interrupt you, is it takes 2 marathons to burn off a Christmas dinner.
This is a great story of Christmas cheer. So
are you up for it? 1 marathon maybe on Christmas Day? Probably not going to happen.
Actually, last year I did do a park run on Christmas Day.
So I've got my coffee fit. I need my prescription. Thank you both very much. Need to see you at 11:30. Let's take a look at the weather.